we're not in Sanford.
We're on a boat, and we're not in Sanford.
Oh my gosh, it's been a long time since we've been this far downriver, hasn't it?
Yeah, so we did 2 years ago. We did Operation Dolphin Quest, where we came up to Jacksonville with the sole purpose of to see dolphins, which we did not.
Complete and total failure. The cruise was awesome. We had an incredible time, but we set off downriver. We were not going to stop until we saw dolphins. We spent a week.
No.
How many days did we spend in Jacksonville and at the?
I think we did like 4 or 5 nights in Jacksonville.
Waiting for dolphins, and they didn't show up, and we had some cat health issues we had to get back up for, so we couldn't go further downriver. So, 2 years later, we tried again.
Yes, but this time we have a purpose for being in Jacksonville besides the dolphins, which did happen.
Yes.
We're up here for routine boat maintenance. So Why Not has not been out of the water in 3 years. Just before the pandemic, we had Why Not fully serviced up in the Savannah area at Hinckley Yacht Services.
Yeah, so we need to check our bottom paint. We need to, they've got a through hull that's got some corrosion and leaks and stuff. It's just new anodes. We can't get divers to go in the water, alligator infested water in
for
Sanford.
some reason. I don't know.
And so that's come down the river, go to a boatyard. We've heard great things about Lambs, so we're first time we're going to be here.
Yeah, we're at Lambs Yacht Services on the Ortega River in Jacksonville, which we have stayed on the Ortega River multiple times in our cruising time. We usually stayed at what used to be known as Ortega Landing. It's now like point 32,
point 34 or something.
It's got a new name.
No longer quite the name that sticks to your mind of the place that you land your boat on the Ortega River. Now it's something else, but it's apparently still also a great marina.
But yeah, they're just down a little bit over on the other side of that bridge behind us.
Yes.
So we're over here. We've heard great things about Lambs. So we're going to do all our routine stuff. We get hauled out early next week or this week.
We get hauled out Tuesday. Yes. And the big project, because we are desperately in need of it, is the enclosure for our fly bridge. Is basically you can no longer see through the vinyl. It's not. Yeah,
we had it done 4 years ago on our first trip to Sanford. We were supposed to have had it done up here in Jax, and then if you've been following along, we got.
Stuff happened, and we did not make it back to Jacksonville that year.
Stuff happened. We fell in love with Sanford.
Sanford Velcro grabbed us. But also, actually, the reason we started there, though, is the marina we were planning to come back to in Jacksonville lost our spot. And anyway, our plans changed. We stayed in Sanford. We canceled our canvas projects in Jacksonville. Had them done.
It was kind of serendipity. A canvas company came onto the docks to give a quote to one of our neighbors. We didn't really check references, and they were inexpensive, and the work was even.
And they were available right away.
Yeah, yes. But so it was done. It's been okay, but we didn't know what we didn't know about canvas, and especially around the isinglass enclosure.
So this place, they normally do pontoon boat enclosures, and they did kind of the sort of stuff that is on pontoon boats that fades quickly after a few months. And now after 4 years?
4 years. It's cracking. We've already had the zippers redone once on one of the windows. They all need to be redone. So we're coming back up here to the place that was originally going to do it, Bosun's Locker up here in Jacksonville. They have an impeccable reputation. Yep. We have worked with them before. They did all our screen doors.
The screens and stuff back here. So we're having a new enclosure made for the flybridge so we can see again.
Because it's really hard to drive a boat when you can't see out the glass. Anyway, so that is supposed to take 6 to 8 weeks. So they're coming tomorrow to pick up the existing canvas and measurements and talk over what we want done this time. And so we're hoping that in this time period, we'll get sprung here from Lambs and all this routine maintenance, and maybe we'll go out and cruise for a bit. Yep. But anyway, unfortunately, we only had 1 week to make the trip up here, and it could be done in 2 days with just one overnight or one very, very long cruising day. We've done it in 2 nights.
We've done it in 2 nights.
2 nights before when we were coming down for the pandemic. And we've done it as long as 12 days, I think.
I think, yeah, because we just love being on the river. We love river cruising. People always talk to us about Bahamas and blue water and stuff like that, but we actually love rivers and little kind of finding little places to anchor, and we'll share some of the highlights of this trip. There's just so much that we love about cruising on the St. Johns River.
Yeah, we've gone up and down it now multiple times, and this time we only had 7 days because I had a medical appointment that we were trying to sandwich in between our haul-out date and the earliest I could get a medical appointment that I needed before we could leave Sanford, and that left us 7 days. So we left Sanford on last Friday.
Friday,
Saturday the
yeah,
15th.
Saturday the 15th, and it's now Sunday the 23rd.
Yep.
So today we docked at Lambs, and this cruise down. One of the things that was a very pleasant surprise was that Dave and Stacy of our friends on Stinkpot were able to come join us again.
Yeah, so when they left Sanford last year to head off for the summer, we joined them.
We tagged along
for about half
the way down the river.
And before we return, it's just great to get out cruising. We love it, and it's fun. We raft up. We call our two boats together. They're Stinkpot. Why not? When they're rafted together, we call it Stinknot. So we were able to enjoy the first two anchorages for them before they needed to get back to Sanford, because apparently they were missing the midges. So they wanted to get back to
Here we are anchored to rafting up like that.
That's on the Pontoon Dead River behind Pontoon State Park. It's only about 20 miles from Sanford. It's not too far. It's a great little get away from Sanford. Get out in nature. I mean, the bugs there are bugs out there, but the sounds of nature, especially overnight, were just amazing.
Oh yeah, and what's kind of funny is we going to this dead river in the middle of nature with all the bugs. We were escaping from Sanford was under a killer midge swarm, and I don't know if anybody's seen our past videos about the midges of Seminole County. They can be a nightmare. They're one of the things that does drive people away from wanting to come to Sanford, and it's been mostly good. The past
couple of years, it's been actually not bad. Our first year was horrific. But yeah, there was a swarm that had been ramping up for about the week before we left, and
they followed us.
Going out on the Lake Monroe, and both Stinkpot and Why Not got covered in midges, and we're worried. We're extremely worried getting out there because we don't have the freshwater capacity to give the boat a wash and still have water for normal stuff for the rest of the week.
Unfortunately, Dave had
a raw
water pressure washer, battery powered pressure washer hookup thing that we were able to jury rig together, and pressure, low power but still pressure wash both of our boats to get the worst of the bugs off. So that was very fortunate. Otherwise, it was.
Yeah, so we both did impromptu washes. So we got up because what happens with the midges is they die on your boat, and then they turn into this green goo. Goo stains, and then the spiders come and eat the dead midges,
and then the birds come and eat the spiders and poop everywhere. I mean, it's kind of this like circle of
life, death.
It's an explosion, but. We've been hearing from people who stayed behind in Sanford, and Dave and Stacy when they got back to Sanford, and apparently the entire past, most of the week we've been gone.
I saw Ken is on the chat. I'm sure he's dealing with them on Maritime.
Oh, too. Man.
So anyways, our first anchorage with Dave and Stacy was Butcher's Bend, which is just 6 miles north of Sanford. It is an amazing little anchorage. It is like one of our favorite weekend or quick getaways from Sanford.
Yeah, it is so close, but yeah, you're surrounded by nature. We saw a huge alligator out there.
Two huge alligators.
Actually out there chasing each other. It was it's getting a little spicy out there.
But one thing we love about this, because Chris and I are running now. This is something I would not had imagined would be coming out of my mouth last year. And the Black Bear Preserve
Wilderness has a trail that goes along the St. Johns River there, and we found a way to get ashore.
Yeah, there's a kayak launch dock there to go ashore.
So we did some trail running.
So we had a 4-mile trail run together.
If you follow me, I've had a I must run on Sundays commitment for over a year and a half now, I guess. And so that was a Sunday. I had to get ashore and run. So we kind of planned our cruises around needing to get ashore on Sundays. But actually, we managed to get ashore four different times to go running.
We ran 4 times in this last week.
I got the best running buddy.
It is fun. It's super fun to be running together. Pontoon State Park has great trails, and they were massively flooded in Ian, just like we were in Sanford. And they've only recently reopened the trails, but most of the other rest of the park is not open. But they had 6 miles of trails open, and we did 3.5 of them. Yeah,
love running in Pontoon. It's beautiful there.
And the misty dink ride out
let's
there
check. This is the morning when we're going out to go running. This was just beautiful.
Yeah, so this is the Pontoon Dead River, and just the mist in the morning. Oh, just magnificent. Again, something else I didn't think we would be doing is mornings.
Well, boats did turn us a bit into morning people, but the idea of going out to shore, getting to the state park, we were there. The ranger's like, "Whoa, you're the first ones here today," and going for a run. Well, who are we? What happened? To hardly recognize ourselves.
Yes. But yeah, had an amazing run there. So that was our second run. Because we stayed 2 nights at Hunting River, and
Yeah.
Dave and Stacey were going to leave the first night, after the first
And
night.
get back up to Sanford.
But they loved it so much, they decided to stay a second night with
And
us.
particularly because then we had probably one of the most magical encounters
Oh, yes.
ever. Well, let me set the scene. We're like all decided to get some extra fitness the second day because we didn't go running that second day while we're at Pontoon Head River, and so everybody decides let's go paddling. So Cherie's paddling our dinghy, I'm paddling the paddleboard, Dave's paddling their dinghy, rowing around, and we're all just like going back and forth on the dead river. And suddenly, as I'm going along, kind of full speed,
I'm a couple 100 feet from him.
going along, and I'm like, oh, wow, a manatee. Aye! Because this manatee body rose up right in front of my paddleboard that was going at full paddleboard speed, and I clicked full reverse, but it was too late. I'm up the back of the manatee and flipping over, landing on top of the manatee.
In alligator-infested waters.
Alligator-infested waters. As the paddleboard flips over, and I crawl back on board the paddleboard, and
then this manatee comes. I've got this great photo. I should have queued up this photo. The manatee comes up nose to nose with the front of the paddleboard, and Chris is kneeling on the paddleboard looking at the manatee. And it's just this magical moment of them having this conversation and checking in on each other.
Yeah, the manatee. It's like literally, it was like, "Are you okay? I'm sorry. I flipped you," and I'm like, "Are you okay? I'm sorry. I fell on you." And we talked, and then it just came right up to me and just exhaled, and I was just like this sweet manatee breath, just all like right in my face, and I'm like, I'm enchanted. It
and
was
then this
magical.
Manatee then comes under the paddleboard and then gently lifts him and pulls him around.
Yes, the manatee
and brings him over to Dave and I.
Yeah.
So at this point, Dave has joined us.
Yeah, the manatee towed me over to Dave and then towed me over to Cherie. Like went up under the paddleboard, and it was just incredible. The manatee hung out with us, and then a second one came, and it was like introducing us around, and then they were playing. They were splashing. They were sticking their flipper. I've never seen a manatee breach, kind of like a dolphin wannabe, jump out and splash.
And they were clearly interacting with us. So notice how Chris has just have his hand dangling in there. The rule is you cannot approach the manatee, but they can do whatever they want to you.
And yeah, the manatee would just come up and like nuzzle against against me. It was like I had a buddy in the water. It was magic. So my gosh.
The set of manatees, they hung out with us for
there's the two of them
30 minutes. And it was
worth getting soaked for. It was incredible.
And it was chilly. It was chilly out that day.
It's like, look at this. It's like, get this out of the way. Go out of the camera, go up this way. It was just absolutely magic. The water was the water was warmer than the air. I was shivering, but mostly shivering with the light.
It was getting down in the upper 40s overnight. It's been a magical cruise for the
they're
temperatures.
There slapping their tails away. And again, look at that. Yeah, coming out and waving, and it was just off the charts. It was. Still got a few. Yeah, there they are. Oh my gosh! Yeah, they were playing with us. I've never had a manatee encounter anywhere near.
We've done the snorkeling over in Crystal River where you go out with a guide, and I mean at that point, the manatees were coming up to you. They love beards. They were French kissing you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That was one of the nature highlights ever. It was awesome.
Yep. So in the morning, Dave and Stacey decided they needed to get back to Sanford because again they missed the midges.
So
here's Stinkpot leaving
off.
So we did this one up because it's a narrow river. We anchored the aft of our boat together like that, and we each had an anchor out in front so we weren't swinging.
Because there's no room to swing. You have to get a little creative in a narrow spot like this. And it's challenging because in the middle it's 30 feet deep, but to the sides it's 2 feet deep. So we had
to find that sweet spot.
Got to find that sweet spot. It is some fun anchor and joy.
Yep. So we also left out shortly after they did. We continued north or downriver. The St. Johns River flows to the north. And then they headed back to Sanford, and we got some cruising footage there to share of the. I love the lower St. Johns River. It has got the closer shores. It's just nature magic.
Yeah, this is the before you get to Lake George when you're heading north. It's just like a twisty jungle cruise. It is beautiful. It's We didn't see a ton of nature this time, but it was still pretty
A lot
beautiful.
of birds.
Yeah, actually a lot of birds.
I think, did I have a second one queued up?
I only got one of them in there.
Okay.
Yes, okay,
Cool.
yeah.
Cool.
And yeah, so what was next? We did.
So our next anchorage. So we knew that we had only 7 days to get to Jacksonville, because we wanted to get here a day in advance of the haul out. Because we actually brought Blooper, our camper van, up here before we set
pre-staged
sail.
it.
Dave and Stacy drove up with us and brought us back. So Blooper's in the parking lot here at Jacksonville. We'll be moving into Blooper and doing some van tripping while the boat is hauled out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care to live aboard on the Heart again, even if they allowed it. That was the one experience with that was enough.
Well, you've had more than one experience with that.
No, just once.
Well, we lived on the boat a little bit when at Thunderbolt too.
No, we didn't. We lived in the van.
Well, mostly, but yeah, okay.
Because
lived when we did it in Miami and lived on the boat for
5 weeks.
5 weeks on the Hard. Nightmare.
It's too much. Anyways, so we
crossed Lake George.
So we did a 42-mile cruising day, which is long for us. That's about 6.5 hours of cruising. So going across Lake George, which is the second largest lake in Florida. Do you have a map? The map I gave you?
Oh, yeah, here's the map.
I made you a map showing you there. So
yeah,
there's...
It's over my face, so there you could talk
there we
about
go.
it. No, you go that way. There you
are. I can't put my finger over it.
You can't put your finger in front of the map.
The big blue blob there, so you can see all the dots. So the lowest dot is Sanford, the second dot is Butcher's Bend, and then the third dot is Pontoon River. And then so we did a long cruising day and got north of Lake George. And one reason we wanted to do that is we knew that we only had the 7 days, but we're semi-retired now. We're trying to work less.
But we had bad timing.
Well, this week that we're cruising happened to be the week in which we consider our work week. We
bunch up all of our work so that we're working.
Not all of it. All of our scheduled calls.
All the scheduled calls. So we have a lot of stuff to do 1 week a month that is on somebody else's schedule. Like we have webinars to present and we have meetings that we have to host and all sorts of other stuff.
But that was this week. So we knew that we had 2 days in which we weren't going to be able to cruise much because we didn't have pre-committed webinars and calls to do. So we decided to get a lot of miles in. That was on Tuesday, which we did not have committed things, and we got up to Walaka. We chose Walaka as our next anchorage
because Cherie's addicted to some shrimp.
I love Shrimps R Us there. Shrimps R Us and more in Walaka. It has been there forever.
It's a little hole in the wall, caters to mostly kind of like
bikers
weekend biker crowd and stuff, but it's just a hole in the wall fish and shrimp place. They have live music on occasions and stuff, but it's just. You say it's the best shrimp you've ever had?
It's really good shrimp. It's just very good shrimp.
I'm not a big shrimp fan, but their fish is to die for. The swai I had was like just so flaky and delicious and perfectly seasoned. So, yeah, we always try when we're going up and down the river to spend some time in Walaka, get ashore, get some walking in. There's a really funky little, it's a national fish hatchery there with an aquarium, kind of like a museum quality small aquarium just sitting there on the side of the road that you can walk into and see cool fish.
Yeah.
It's like
killed some time there. They got back and handled 2 of our calls, and then we got a couple hours of cruising in after Walaka. Is that when we went to Solano Cove? No, we did Palatka next.
Palatka. Oh yeah. Do I have arriving in Palatka? No, we have nothing in Palatka here. But Palatka is such a cool little town. It's a little old river town, kind of right where the St. John's River starts to get wide, where it's kind of opens up. That's what started. And
you got the map you can put up.
Oh yeah, I put the map back up here. There's map. Ding. So yeah, Palatka is.
So you see Lake George, and then the next dot is Walaka, and then it's Palatka. I don't have Walaka. So Palatka, it's got a nice historic downtown. You can anchor right off of the downtown. There's normally a little city marina there. That is currently closed thanks to the flooding from Ian. But there are a couple of dinghy docks also.
Well, small boat docks, yeah.
Small boat
20
dock.
boats or less. But yeah, we anchored off and dinghied ashore and went to got a run in, went to the oldest diner in Florida and just explored the historic downtown. I'd love to spend more time in Palatka in the future.
Yeah, and we've done it on a prior trip, but there's a state park there. It's the Ravine Gardens. It's like this ravine in Florida.
State park in Florida, and it is beautiful. It's like Florida's Grand Canyon in a sense. It's not quite as big, but it's still pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. Then we did Palatka, then went to Solano Cove, which is kind of our...
Yeah, so after Palatka, the river really widens up.
It's
So
like
bring
10
up the
miles
map
across.
again. You can
Back. Here we are.
you can actually see the river north of there. So it gets very, very wide. And there's really not a lot of great anchorages north of Palatka before Green Cove Springs. But we found this little cove off to the side that if you've got winds coming from the east, which we did, it's great protection there. Mm-hmm. So that's what we aimed for to do our afternoon calls on Thursday.
Solano Cove, and then we found out we had some friends who were going to be in Green Cove Springs, so we made plans to have them meet them for lunch on Friday. So scooted across to Green Cove Springs,
which is our domicile. We use St. Brendan's Isle for our mail forwarding service, and so did they were in their RV passing through. So we Chris and Jim of Geeks on Tour, we got to join up with them for lunch.
We love it. Those kind of serendipitous encounters when somebody just says, "Hey, I think we're in the same area as you," and we're like, hey, I think we might actually cross paths. And boom, next thing we know, we're having lunch, catching up with people I haven't seen in years, and all without more than a few minutes of planning.
Yep. So after lunch, we went north of Green Cove Springs and then to
Black Creek, another one of our favorites.
Which is a favorite anchorage, which we tried to return to on Dolphin Quest 2 years ago, but it was over Memorial Day weekend. It was just way too much recreational traffic.
So yeah, this is Black Creek is probably one of the closest very nature settings to Jacksonville on the river. So it's this little very deep creek that just snakes up from the St. Johns River, and you can go up miles and miles in a small enough boat. And I was kind of observing like the two different ways that people approach that kind of solitude in nature. There's one audience that is like, yeehaw, jet skis, sea-doos, wakeboarding, going really fast through the twisty things, and I could totally understand and appreciate that being really fun and kicking up really huge wakes. But also then there's the other people who want to kayak or listen to the birds and the nature and the glassy flat water. And so it's particularly on a weekend that gets a little bit of a conflict of the yeehaw and the glassy.
So we're there on a Friday evening with a little bit of yeehaw in the afternoon evening.
But once the crowds go away,
it's just splendid.
Totally tranquil overnight.
Yeah, so it is a favorite anchorage. I'm glad we got to go back to it. And then after that, we made the final miles into Jacksonville. We got there arriving into Jacksonville.
It's always fun to show up into a big city and suddenly big buildings, big boats. We had some tugboats go past us.
And we're finally back to waters in which we have tides.
Tides and currents. Like, hey, why is there a 2-knot current against us? Oh, yeah, right. It's all that water funneling up through the river. And that's not the intro video. And
last night we anchored downtown, in between the Acosta Bridge and the 95 I-95.
Yeah, right by the train, right next to the train bridge in front of Baptist Hospital. There's an area where it goes from like 45 feet deep to more 15 to 20 feet, so shallow enough to anchor and still have lots of separation. It's a spot we've always anchored in Jacksonville. And actually they've redone it. The free dock along the waterfront at the landing used to be the mall.
The Jacksonville Landing.
Is now all completely redone, and that's a great place if you want to tie up. But we actually like to be our own floating island and dinghy ashore.
Yeah, there's Metropolitan Park 2 over by the stadium, which is still there, but I hear it's going to be going away, which we've stayed at before as well, and you can get power there. And then there's a whole bunch of new free docks all over the downtown area. But we love just to anchor in the middle, just enjoying the lights at night.
The fireworks. We saw fireworks from the stadium going off. We saw the kind of lights on the bridges. It's fun to be in the heart of it all. Helicopters landing at the hospital.
Yeah, it's such a juxtaposition from the night before. We're out in nature and you're hearing frogs and stuff to hearing helicopters and fireworks and ambulances and trains. But it's great. We love variety.
Oh yeah, and I love being in the heart of a city and marveling at that because like we can get ashore, and we went to the Saturday Riverfront Arts Market, which is a huge kind of art and farmers market thing underneath the I-95 freeway bridge in Jacksonville every Saturday.
There's a great little free dock right next to it.
Yeah, and then Jacksonville has incredible. We went for a Sunday run day this morning. We went for 6 to 7 miles running through
along the riverfront,
all up and down over those bridges. We had so much good fun running because we can get ashore easily and do that. But the best part is we saw heard and then saw dolphins this time.
It's been 3 years since we have had dolphins around the boat, and I've been so missing them.
And this time we went to Jacksonville, and it did not disappoint. As soon as we got there, we had dolphins welcome us. And they visited us several times, and we missed dolphins so much.
So, yay! Finally,
yay for dolphins.
We came, like I said, we came up here 2 years ago just to see dolphins and did not see any. And so it was just magical to have them around the boat, just hearing them go. We left all the windows open with the screens and just would, first person to hear, and we would just, it was like, who's going to squeal first?
Oh my God, I was jumping up and down and clapping. It's like, at last, dolphins. So
yeah. And we got ashore. We had a nice dinner last night at a Thai restaurant that was walkable from the boat. There's so much to do
and we
around
went to
there.
a Publix that was walkable.
We actually had grocery stores because when you're doing the St. Johns River, provisioning is a bit challenging. There's like a Winn-Dixie in Green Cove Springs that can be difficult to get to, and then there's a little local grocery store in Palatka if you dock at Corky Bell's, which is a restaurant with a dock that you can walk to across the street and get groceries. But other than that, there's not much for groceries, so you got to provision for this trip.
Okay, so that's our trip. That's getting down the river.
And now we're here at Lamb's Yacht Center. We're going to be called out on Tuesday if you're joining in. We're just doing routine maintenance here, basically. Why Not has not been out of the water since we had a full service at Hinckley Yacht Services just before the pandemic, and then we retreated to Sanford after that, of course.
And then after that, well, once we're kind of cut loose, we'll probably do some cruising for a while. I'm not quite sure exactly.
Yeah, so we're also having a new canvas done from Bosun's Locker, which is also here locally. We've worked with them before. And they're estimating in probably about 6 to 8 weeks from once they take everything tomorrow. And once we're free of lambs, we might just go cruise around. I'd love to be on a mooring ball at St. Augustine again. That was such a fun
and
trip.
we're thinking Fernandina Beach.
We've never done Fernandina Beach.
So the docks there were trashed last time we went by from hurricanes. So there's new places to explore and some old favorites to revisit. And
so if you have questions about nomadic life, cruising.
Hey, the St. Johns River, because that's fresh in our mind.
Oh yeah, go ahead and queue up those questions. We'll hang out and chat for a little bit.
See what's been popping up in here, in the chat room here.
Yeah, we've already answered that.
Okay. So. People saying they've had good experiences with lambs and Bosun's Locker. Elliot and Ann saying hi.
Someone we met straight from the heart. We're at Ortega on ADOC. Yay.
Awesome. Yay. So other former neighbors from around here. Awesome. And.
Ken says yes, the screens are in and the surgical masks are back.
You don't want to breathe in those midges in Sanford. They taste like fish and rotting fish. I don't know. And they're so thick. It's scary.
Someone wants to know how they can buy us a glass of wine.
Ooh.
I think I have the super chat feature turned on this video, so there should be an option to donate right through YouTube. We actually turned off our tips on the blog, especially at the start of the pandemic when so many. We just didn't feel right taking money when we were
donate to people who need it more.
Yeah,
it's wine is great.
Yeah, we don't do this for money. we do this for fun. But if I think the super chat's turned on if you want to.
And it makes our day when we get a random little things, but it's not our purpose here. And somebody's been following our Great Loop it's been 5 years with Why Not now?
6 years.
6 years.
We just had 6 years with Why Not. Yes. And so Ian had asked why we're getting the boat hauled out, and we're just have the bottom paint checked. Probably
We've
have
got
another
coat some through holes that need service,
and have new anodes put on. Just the basics. Probably get the hull wax will rack because that's easier to do.
The rub rail needs to be sealed. That's easier to do out of the water. Stuff like that. So just hopefully nothing too unusual.
Mm-hmm. The unexpected.
When Great Loop.
Someday. So we had thought about restarting the Great Loop this spring, but we got waylaid in Sanford with medical stuff and just cool stuff.
When we were originally booking the service department, we were trying to aim for February so we'd be able to be in sync to
restart the
loop this spring, and there was the stars weren't aligning to make the window of opportunity to cruise this year.
And it just didn't feel like the adventure we wanted right now. So This year, we'll be returning the boat to Sanford midsummer, before peak of hurricane season again.
Because we know we kept our slip up at
Yes, we are keeping our slip.
because there's theoretically, if you give up your slip at the downtown Sanford Marina, you will never get one back because of the waiting list. So we're holding on to our slip until we're really sure we're ready to go, and that's going to be a while, I think.
Yeah, but we just didn't feel like setting off because once you start on the Great Loop, you're pretty much committed for at least a year. At our pace, 10 years, and I just don't want to have to figure out how to winterize the boat if we stay up there, and what we would do.
When the time is right, we'll feel
It'll
if we
feel
want
right.
to.
It just wasn't feeling like what we wanted to do when we've got so much community we've built down in Sanford. We're really enjoying knowing people and having a regular social life, people to go biking with, people to go out for dinner with, have over for dinner.
Yep.
We're just loving that. And I know on the loop it'll be very social, and we'll probably make great friends as well, but I also don't want to leave the friends that we've made yet, and our family lives in Central Florida, so we're probably going to repeat like last year. We're going to store the boat for hurricane season.
Well, and we've already got plans to do an extended van trip to get out and see our bus in Arizona.
Exactly. We haven't seen Zephyr it'll be 2 years this winter, and we do need to go out and give her some love too.
Yes,
so,
our bus is calling
us. So yeah,
this
managing a fleet of 3 is, especially across country, is proving to be not getting enough time with any of them. Yes. So.
Mm-hmm. So we got an update from Don saying the stadium free dock is indeed open but partly trashed. So anybody cruising to Jacksonville, keep that in mind. Always good to see Elliot. And Fernandina Beach is expensive. Okay.
Yeah, I looked at the prices. It seems like a pretty normal marina, but there's an anchorage across the way, and you
get
can
dinghy access.
And you can pay for dinghy access, which is probably what we'll do.
We love anchoring out and having dinghy access to go places.
So this trip down the St. Johns River was 7 days. We only ran the generator for a total of 4 or 5 hours total, and we had one very cloudy day.
Oh, we had one day where in the middle of the day we're getting like 10 watts of solar. Yeah. It was gloomy.
So we've really got our electrical systems dialed in for being off solar and stuff like that. And we love that.
And of course, we're in Florida, and we're coming into air conditioning season. We've been very blessed with mostly temperate weather for this.
But when you're anchored out, you get great breezes usually. And we've done 100+ degree temperatures and doing lots of anchoring out.
Particularly once we get down where we could jump in the water and have our afternoon swims.
Yes.
And so any van trips planned while the boat is getting serviced? Depending on how much time we need to be off the boat, we will be kind of juggling that.
We're meeting with our service manager tomorrow, so we'll get an idea of how long they predict. We do have some campgrounds that we've looked at in the area around here that we might go off and adventure in. But yeah, we're not going to be doing, I don't think, if it's all routine stuff, I think we'll be back in the water by the end of the week. I think. Yeah. If not, then we'll figure it out.
Yeah, because that's the whole point of joy of having the van is we've got our second house here, so we can go have adventures. So we're good either way.
And then we'll get the van once we know we're free of everything. We'll get the van back to Sanford, and we're thinking of taking Amtrak back.
Yeah, Amtrak is as low as $18 from Jacksonville to Winter Park. Yeah. So Jay Harrison asked if we have plans to go further north. I guess assume cruising. Further north than Fernandina, I don't know. Maybe we'll stick our nose into Georgia just for fun. But
but not this trip. We've gotten as far north as Charleston before the pandemic. And we would love to cruise. I'd love to spend a lot of time up in the Chesapeake. I hear it's just absolutely amazing. We'd love to get up into New England.
I want to get to Canada.
We want to spend time in the New York City area. So yes, we have lots of intentions. I wouldn't say plans. We don't plan too well, but we have lots of intentions to do so. And
he asked if we want to travel along the loop and pre-scout our docking and entertainment. So we've done that in the van. We've been to a lot of loop places. Oh, I'm getting bit by a cat down here. You see the paws. Yes. Okay.
Oh, we got a super chat.
Oh my gosh,
yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, K-Tube. Yes, thank you very much. That will go into the wine fund. Yes. Perfect. Thank you. Let's see. Here's KTB says, you couldn't find a way to add a text, but have a nice glass of wine on me. Love you guys. Thank you very much.
That's very
sweet. Appreciated. And Chris Saul says they live near Fernandina Beach and love it. So, hey, cool. We might be down there at some point in the next month or so.
Cool. And Don Mac is there on Doctor's Lake right now and going south.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we fueled up at Doctor's Lake. It was
Yeah,
good price on fuel.
If you're going to Sanford, just know that marina space is very tight right now because we did lose a dock at the downtown Sanford Marina. But I think our slip might be open. So.
Yeah, we gave them a transient slip to use while we're gone. And also, you can anchor out on Lake Monroe, and the town free dock, the dinghy dock, is open. So it's easy to explore if you can't get into the marina.
Just beware of midges.
Beware of midges. I think
you won't have trouble on the river with them.
Yeah. No. Knock on wood, but yes. Yes. Okay, I think we're caught up on questions. So, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, we don't know where we'll end up. It'll all be in the hands of Lambs and Bosun's Locker with the canvas. So we'll probably be in and out of Jacksonville at least once more, and kind of aiming for getting back to Sanford late June, early July. Is kind of the rough estimate.
If we get back in time for 4th of July, we would have a front row seat. But of course, there will be other places that would have great fireworks too. So we'll figure it out. But by hopefully mild hurricane season this year. But by the time there are hurricanes brewing, we want to have our nice safe spot up on the lake.
Yes, 40 miles inland. Definitely having gone through 2 hurricanes there, I feel it's about as most protected you're going to get.
As long as we don't get another flood this year.
Yes, the flooding was annoying. Definitely was an adventure.
Nice to have a house that floats.
For sure. All right. Well, that's all we got. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed coming along for a little bit of a recap and some slight footage. We're not doing like enough footage to do a full video about the trips anymore. It's just too much effort to produce them. So we're going to try these lives and give you updates and hope this format works.
And theoretically, if we decided to do this just like a couple hours ago, so we'd actually do a little bit more effort to produce something to have as featured other than just a few clips. But we're going to end this with the little intro clip that Cherie made showing off some of our highlights of the trip on the river. And see you guys all next time. We'll keep this up. And let's do this. Where's the farewell? Bing. Take care, guys.